everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are so excited to be hosting today a live VIP tour of our brand new electric trains. We'll have a virtual reality experience so you can see what the inside of the trains will look like. And then we'll also have the team in Salt Lake City talk about what's happening at the actual facility. We are joined by members of the Caltrain team, Michelle Bouchard, Chief of Rail, members of the Stadler team, Charlotte and Christoph, and our very, very special guest, Congresswoman Jackie Speier. Jackie Speier, would you like to introduce the event and talk about it?
Thank you, Casey. Well, just that little snippet of a video shows you how exciting a change can be. And what's so important about these new train sets is that it's going to allow us to put so many more people on Caltrain over the next 20 years. Right now, before the pandemic started, we had 65,000 people riding on Caltrain each day. And we're going to be able to triple that number over the next 20 years with electrification and with these brand new train sets. And it's the equivalent of taking 4 lanes of traffic off of 101 and 280 every day. I mean, imagine how much more gridlock there would be without Caltrain. And now that we're going to have these brand new, beautiful new cars and electrification, just means that we're going to have faster travel times. We're going to have improved air quality, and we're going to have great comfort. And that's what we're going to see in a matter of seconds. Is how beautiful and how comfortable these new cars are. I had a preview last week, and I'm pretty wowed by it.
Great. We're going to go ahead and share with everyone something you can see on your own at calmod.org/VR, but we'll go ahead and give you a little preview of it right now. And give me one moment. There we go. Here we are. So we'll turn it over to Michelle to start talking through some of the really improved amenities you'll see on the new train.
Okay, great. Well, Congresswoman Speier, we're so happy to have you on board our brand new trains. We just think it's going to be an evolution of the customer experience. And we also took so much feedback from customers to make sure we understood what their needs and wants were. And we really think that we're going to be able to deliver on that. So here you are as you step into the train in the vestibule over on the left. You can see the public information boards, which right now we're just using paper copies, but here we'll be able to download schedules electronically, make announcements for special events. And this might seem like a little thing, but little things mean a lot with respect to customer service. And as we move over here to the left, I think one of the other key features that we got feedback on is we really want this to be a very safe and comfortable riding environment. And so want to make sure our customers feel safe when they're on board. So we have these emergency call intercoms instead of having to walk through to find a conductor. And then I think Casey will pan up. We also have interior cameras. This is something we don't have now, but so we'll be able to make sure that, in the event that we need to see what's going on in there, we can easily do that remotely. Okay, now we're gonna walk through the car. We had, I think, more than 1,000 people comment on color schemes and seat types. In fact, we got different types of seats delivered to us, and we had people sit in them and see what level of comfort made best sense for them. And we really think that the interior is gonna again be so comfortable and wide open. When you actually stand in these cars in Salt Lake, this is exactly what they feel like.
Now, this is what I love more than anything, and that is that each seat is going to have an electrical outlet. So I know if anyone travels a lot, that's something you desperately want to know is not just on the vehicle, but is working. And I've been told that we'll make sure these work all the time. Oftentimes when I'm flying to DC, they don't work. So this is a great improvement so that you can work while you sit and travel.
Absolutely. And then just one other feature here is we just want to make sure that the environment was able to store whatever you needed to store. So we have above luggage racks, but also one of the key features is these cantilevered seats. So you'll see the floor is completely clear. So you can put your feet there or you can put your bags.
Hopefully your feet there and not on the chairs, right?
There you go. So now I think we're going to head through the car over to our restroom, which you wouldn't think would be a major feature, but it is a major feature on this car. We had a lot of consultation with our ADA community, as well as other folks. And again, this is another thing where we had a full mock-up of a bathroom shipped to us at Caltrain so we could make sure that we had the appropriate amenities and requirements for people's comfort.
And yes, there is a changing table to change your infant's diapers, something that when I was a young mom and traveling on planes, I had to do it on the toilet seat. So that's great.
Absolutely. And of course, you know, these days it's important to have a facility on board to be able to wash your hands. And this helps you to do that in style. So Casey is going to walk us through to the bike car, but just want to point out when you're walking in between cars, right here you see the in-between car space here on the left and right. I'm sure Christoph will talk about this potentially a little bit later, but this is where the propulsion gear lives. But it's going to be such a quiet environment as you travel in between the cars, not only because of the non-diesel, but also just because the cabin is so well sealed. And then, of course, here we are in the bike car. You see the door is clearly marked. And of course, as we all know, Caltrain is and remains the #1 carrier of bikes on board. We hope that will remain the case in the future. And so each one of our new electric trains will have 2 cars. We'll be able to carry 72 bikes simultaneously. That's in addition to expanding our Wayside Bike program. And then you'll see we have the mid-level seats. And Casey, I think that might be it for our tour.
It is. Thank you so much, Michelle. This was a little taste of what the inside of the trains are going to look and feel like. As Michelle said, we got a lot of input from riders and the public on this. So we're excited to give you what it's actually going to feel like. And so now we're going to stop sharing the virtual reality part of it and turn it over to the reality of where the trains are being built in Salt Lake City and turn it over to our colleagues at staff to talk about what's happening there.
Let's underscore the fact that it's being made in America.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. We apologize for the background noise, but we are on the production floor here. We really wanted to take you where all of the action is happening. So I'm here with Christoph. He's the project manager for this Caltrain project. We can talk a little bit about the trains themselves, but I wanted to point out that the facility we're in right now was built because we won this project from Caltrain. The facility we were renting before would have never been able to fit all these trains and double deck. It wasn't high enough. Now we have these beautiful high ceilings in here, and we're able to do and fulfill this project a lot more comfortably than we could have before. So we're creating a lot of jobs in this new facility. thanks to this project, we have about 400 employees at the moment, but we're still expanding. There's still a lot of potential on this campus. We're planning on extending the facility, adding additional buildings in the coming years, and also, of course, adding more employees to help us fulfill future projects as well. And to do that, at the moment, we also started an apprenticeship program. We have youth apprentices here on site that are taking classes at the local community college to learn all of their theoretical lectures, and then they come here part-time and they learn live and with hands-on experience how to build a train, how to wire, all of these things. So it's really cool. They're getting paid at the same time, so it's really a debt-free education that we're able to do, and they're learning on these cow trains as well. So that is part of our apprenticeship program too, so we're really proud of that. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you, Christoph.
All right, thank you very much, Charlotte. So just focusing on a facility real quick. So this very facility now serves as a model for all the other facilities in our group. So we just copied everything from around the world that we liked and built that here in Utah. And now basically our other sites are looking to us in Salt Lake and check out how we do stuff here. But now also looking at the trains behind me, what you're actually seeing behind me is train set number 3 already. And I can reassure you that the trains look even better from the inside than what you just have seen in the VR. So we put a lot of pride in the build quality and especially the design. And just in comparison with the current fleet, this will be just like worlds apart from the riding experience of today. Also, thanks, Michelle, for pointing that out, that we're now looking at train sets and no longer push-pull service with a locomotive. So we'll have all the traction distributed all over the vehicle. So on most of the cars, so every car but the bike cars, you're gonna have traction equipment installed, but still the noise will not be any louder than any Tesla. And if you like the sound, the electric sound of a Tesla, you'll also like the sound of our electric trains. Well, if you have any questions regarding to the trains, I'm happy to answer them.
Charlotte, it was a little quiet when you were talking about the number of people that you have employed there. So if you or Christoph want to talk about that again, I think people would be really interested in that, and knowing that this project really was a key driver in creating the facility. And I know Michelle and the Congresswoman might be interested in learning of how the apprentice program really is being implemented.
Yeah, I can repeat that. That's no problem. We currently in this facility, we have around—
Charlotte, is it possible for you to either speak louder, or are you in a position where you could take off your mask for a couple of seconds and have Christoph be 6 feet away from you?
Yeah. Can you hear me better this way?
No.
Maybe the microphone is in my ear pod.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let me try that. How's this?
Perfect.
Much better.
Okay, that's the problem then. Okay, perfect. Now we figured that one out. Okay, yeah, we have about 400 employees at this facility today. We started out with around 100 2 years ago when this project came in, and expanded pretty quickly as soon as we moved into this facility. And we needed a new place to build these amazing big trains because our old facility would have never been able to fit all of these cars, or wasn't even high enough. So now we have these beautiful high ceilings, as you can kind of see behind me, to really be able to comfortably build these trains, lift them over each other, move them around as much as we need to without too much of a fuss. So that's really great. And we're still expanding with the 400 employees. We're good right now, but we are getting in other projects as well. And we want to be able to keep this momentum up. So we have potential to expand our buildings and add additional buildings on our campus that we're on today. And then we also have our apprenticeship program to help us really build a skilled workforce. It's a youth apprenticeship program. These students are being trained here on site with practical training, and then they also take classes at the local community college, and they're going to earn an associate's degree going through this program that they're on right now. So we have 2 classes at the moment. We had 1 class start this fall, and then the last class started last fall. So they're year 2 now, a little bit more experienced. They're already pretty confident, learning more skills all the time. And they are also part of our production process here. They're learning live as our employees that are a little more skilled are actively building these trains. So it's a really cool project. It is a debt-free education for them because they are being paid part-time here while they're working hourly. And it's a cool opportunity to be able to say that Caltrain was part of that. And we're also thankful, obviously, to the local community colleges that are part of that as well, and the high schools.
Wonderful. We're starting to get in some questions through the different channels of people that are watching us. So feel free to type them in, send them in. We're going to try to get to as many as we can in the short time that we have today. But the first one was just a comment from Harris. He said, wow, these trains are nice. I'll be writing and posting videos on my YouTube channel. Alexander, we share your excitement. Here's a question for Michelle. What's the time frame to go live? When are we going to actually be able to ride these trains? And that was from Brian.
Yeah, so we're working our way through the program, obviously. I think one of the key things we'd like to understand as part of that, and I'd like to ask Christoph the question, which is, you said we're looking at train set 3. When do we think train set 1 is going to go to Pueblo, which is the test track, to be able to get tested, and that will help to inform when the rest of the fleet will be completed?
Correct. So currently train set 1 is being tested out on our own test track until the end of the year. And then in early January, we're shipping train set 1 to Pueblo in Colorado. And we'll do testing there for almost a year just to make sure that everything works to spec and everything works just nicely. So in the meantime, we keep building trains. So train set 2 will also be used for sort of type testing. And train set 3 is actually going to be the first one that's going to be shipped to California. And that's going to happen sometime next year. When looking at car shells, we're currently stocked for 7 vehicles. So of all the 19 trains, we do have car shells for 7 vehicles in Salt Lake already.
So we're thinking if someone wants to bring their camera out to Caltrain sometime next summer, we should be able to see a train on property, right?
Yes, correct.
When are we going to be able to ride them?
2022, is that right?
That is correct.
We have that in a contract, do we?
Yes, that is in the contract.
Okay.
Congresswoman Spear, this is a question that's probably close to your heart since you mentioned the electric plugs. What about Wi-Fi? Are these trains being built with the necessary equipment?
Good question. It's not a question for me though, right? It's a question.
No, not a question for you, just one I thought you'd appreciate.
I'll certainly take that question. So of course, these trains are super smart, and but at the time that we issued the contract, we weren't quite sure what technology we'd be using. So right now we're working with Stadler. We got additional funding from the state to implement onboard Wi-Fi, and so right now we're working through that project with Stadler. So we hopefully might be a little bit later, but we will have Wi-Fi on board these trains.
Well, do my paperwork too, is the question. If it's that smart.
We got a question from another individual that says they don't have a virtual reality device. Is there a recording of this so that they'll be able to view it? Well, there's multiple ways that we hope you'll be able to check out these new trains. The first place you can check out is going to our website, calmod.org/VR, and you can look around yourself just using your laptop computer. But we do have a link in there, and we're happy to help you get your own little cardboard viewer so you can experience it in a more full fashion. And then after this, I'm sure the recording is going to be available on all of our channels. This is very educational for all. Now I'll go to another question. And actually, it's just a couple comments, and we really appreciate that everyone's expressing some excitement about it. We heard from one individual, great train sets, kudos to the team. We'll look forward to riding them soon. One other kind of positive one is, wow, these trains are nice. I'll be riding and posting them soon. Now to a question, and I think this goes back to Michelle, something you pointed out during the walkthrough. Will there be cameras in the bike car?
Absolutely. That's one of our requirements for sure. We want to make sure that people feel like their bikes are secure when they're parked in the bike car. So there will be cameras there.
All right. We have a question for Drew, and this is probably best answered by the Stadler team. What's the expected lifespan of these new train cars?
So we planned with a lifespan of 30 years, but obviously, I mean, a train can always be overhauled and can also stay in service for longer, but the current planned lifespan is 30 years.
Great. Again, to any members of the public, feel free to send us your comments and your questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can during this time period. Here's someone that's pretty in the weeds in the train world talking about positive train control, PTC. And they asked, Michelle, you know, will these trains be equipped with PTC? And maybe it's helpful if you just give a little education on what that is.
Sure. So positive train control is a mandated safety system that Caltrain has actually just completed, and we're waiting for certification. But basically what a positive train control system will do is it will make sure your train stops when it needs to stop. I do have to say though, it's an overlay system. So what that means is the engineer will always be in control of the train. It's just an added safety layer on top of that. And I think we'll give Christoph the question of, will these have positive train control on them?
Yes, sure. So the trains we built, every train that leaves the facility will be equipped with positive train control. Actually, that's the same equipment that is currently being put on the diesel fleet, or there's just the way the certification, but it will work just in the exact same manner.
Great. We have another question about where will you exit the train on when you load them, and kind of what will that experience be like? Michelle, would you mind talking about that?
Sure, not at all. So you can see, if anyone is familiar with our current system, we have a certain type of car that we call the Bombardier cars. Thanks to Congresswoman Spear, we were able to get some money to buy those cars a little while back in 2002. And so there's about a 23-inch high threshold that folks will have to get into. And so basically for the next little while, passengers will be getting on and off the same way they do today on those Bombardier cars. So just stepping up one step into the threshold. And for passengers needing assistance, we'll have what we call our mini high platforms that will allow for a roll on, roll off if you need to use a wheelchair or cannot step up into the car. But the future for Caltrain, once we can get the funding to do so, is to get ourselves to a place where we have what's called level boarding. So we can bring our platforms up so everybody can just step onto the train. They'll be at the same level. And these trains will allow that. They'll allow both boarding like we board today, and they'll also allow future what's called level boarding.
It's important for everyone to know that there was $1 billion of federal funds that were made available for the electrification of Caltrain. So it's your taxpayer dollars at work. And then another $1 billion came from what other sources? Local sources and
Yes.
state sources.
Absolutely, state and local sources. It was really a huge collaborative effort that had a lot of support from a diverse group and coalition that put together the funds in order to make this project a reality. And as Michelle said, and as so many people are supportive, the electrification project is just the foundation for us to do much more. So level boarding in the future, even more electric trains, full service integrating some of the major projects that are planned along the corridor. So there's a lot more that Caltrain has planned in the future to make it a really exciting, useful system for everyone. And so there's much more work that we have to do, but it's really the foundation of this electrification project that allows us even to dream about those. And we certainly will need another coalition to make sure we have those resources and the funding in place to really utilize and go towards that vision. A few other questions and comments we've been getting. Again, thank you for everyone that's saying nice ones. I just want to acknowledge them here. Say, yeah, electric trains are nice, just like the Muni ones, but on a much larger scale, speeds up quite fast, more powerful, and so much more. Another positive one, and this one's actually from a commenter in Germany. I know this kind of EMU built by the Stadler team, and I think it's great. It's a great improvement for the railway in California. Another one from Drew. I just want to echo the positive comments. It looks great. Thank you everyone for sending your notes on that. Here's one that I have in here. Thanks for spending all the time on the details to make the bathrooms usable and accessible for all riders. We appreciate that.
Michelle, there's a question here about whether the train will announce the upcoming stations. Do we know that?
So I think the answer is yes. And I'm wondering if Christoph can help us with some of the technology and the way it actually does that.
Right. So every train is also equipped with GPS. So the train always knows its position. And also based on that information, will then announce stations. Still, the engineers is always able to speak to all the riders and make announcements himself, but the system, the PIS system that is installed on the train automatically announces stations.
Thanks, Christoph. I think you just reminded me in the video in the beginning, I think we saw what the engineer's cab is going to look like just briefly. I think we saw a view out of the front there. So I think it's also really important to state not only will this be an evolution of the rider experience, but also it will be an evolution of the work experience for engineers in terms of what it will be like to work within that very wide open, quiet, and clean space.
We have another question that's probably best for the Stadler team. What kind of advances are part of the train in regard to the suspension system, and how will that improve the ride?
So we're looking at an air suspension on these cars. So the ride will be super smooth. I'm not quite sure if the commenter has ever ridden a Stadler train, but we're known for very high ride quality. But if that answers the question.
Yeah, and I think overall it'll be a smooth riders experience today on our diesel trains. I think that's an accurate statement as well. We have one more question here from Dante. What's the maximized authorized speed for these vehicles? And Michelle?
Sure, I'd like to talk about what it means on the Caltrain corridor, and then maybe Christoph can just talk about the overall technical capability. So initially, of course, we'll be using the trains on our existing right-of-way. And so maximum authorized speed is going to be what it currently is at 79 miles an hour. The great benefit of these trains compared to our diesel right now is that they'll be able to stop much more quickly and start much more quickly and get up to speed. And so that is what is really going to help us to reduce travel times. But Christoph, can you talk a little bit about how quickly the trains are designed to go?
Oh, absolutely. So the train is going to be rated for 110 miles an hour. So whenever in the future there's going to be California high-speed rail and the corridor is going to be rated for higher speeds, we can certainly also live up to that. But also, just to point out one feature, is going to be the acceleration. we'll be able to accelerate that quickly. Well, if we want to, we could actually make the riders feel safe. Of course, that's not the goal.
Great.
All right, we have a question about the new trains, and Michelle, maybe this is for you of, how we'll have today and our ability to carry people versus how we'll be able to carry people in the future with these trains, and kind of what that schedule will look like and what we're able to do.
Okay, sure. So these trains, and I think overall what can be said about the capacity enhancement of the electrification program in whole. And I think Congresswoman Spear pointed out that it has the ability to remove entire lanes of traffic from 101 and 280. And so essentially what we're looking at in terms of not only additional space to be able to have combined folks sitting as well as standees, because you see how wide open it is, but also the fact that electrification will allow us to operate more frequency in the corridor. We're talking about a 30% increase in capacity, which is just huge for us. So, when we talk about growing into the future, we really will be able to grow along with the economy on the peninsula and the region.
Great. Someone asked if it's possible, the Stadler team, we know we want to keep your Wi-Fi strong there, but if you could maybe just do a little bit of a pan around for what's behind you and talk about what we're looking at.
Sure. Let's take a walk.
Yeah.
Christoph, I don't know if it's easy to explain this, but I just wanted to point out also when Caltrain started this program, one of the things that we wanted to pursue was state-of-the-art safety in terms of crash energy management. And so we pursued a waiver with the FRA, our regulator, to introduce these types of trains into US rail industry. And since we applied for that waiver several years ago, our regulator now has introduced regulation that would allow for these trains to be regularly brought in. And so we're so happy to be one of the first, not the first, but one of the first to bring this kind of technology into the US. So I don't know if you can speak to some of that while we're looking at the front of the train.
So that is an excellent point you're making, Michelle. So basically, yes, our vehicle is going to be an alternative vehicle technology vehicle. So that meaning that we're using a different approach.
Christoph, could you speak up just a little bit more, please?
Sure.
Great.
So we're looking at the different approach in terms of crash management on these vehicles. So basically, everything you see what's behind this portion here is a collapsible structure. So in case of a crash, this structure will collapse and actually protect all the riders and also the engineers from the impact. But then also, so the interior, everything is rated for an HE impact. So also, by looking at the tables are designed in a way to protect the rider. So in case of a crash, the rider will always be protected. Are we going to take a walk through the facility?
Thanks, Christoph. And just a reminder to anyone, feel free to write your comments and we'll try and get to your questions or comments. You can also, you'll be able to view all of this through the different Caltrain channels afterwards. And we appreciate everyone that's joined in so far. Also very much appreciating Congresswoman Jackie Spear joining us for the VIP tour. We love having you with us for this ride.
It's my pleasure. Very exciting. I'm going to have to leave fairly soon. So if there are any questions for me, I hope those who are watching will ask. I saw one question about grade separations. Of course, that takes more money. And my hope is that in the next Congress, we're going to have a bold and robust infrastructure bill that will move quickly And that will be the source of more federal funds for grade crossings. Everything's so clean there, Christoph.
It is. Well, we clean up every day. Well, it's also the state-of-the-art facility really helps us to build these trains efficiently. It's also very nice for all the employees. So it's very bright in here. It's clean.
Christoph, why don't you talk about the yellow cranes up above? I think that's another interesting component
Okay.
everyone may realize. And
Up there,
once again, folks, last questions for the Congresswoman to make sure we can get any of them in and wrap up this tour. Go ahead, Christoph.
Up there, you're looking at the Tres Amigos. So these are trains rated to lift complete car shells. So when you're looking at the final build weight of the car shell, we look at up to 65 tons. So whenever we need to move the cars around, we just pick them up with the overhead tanker crane and lift cars over the other cars. And so to my left, you see train set 2, which is trucked already, standing on the production pit. So as we build out the car shells, they actually sit on stands and not on their final trucks. And then as soon as they're ready, we bring them over to the production pit and finally truck the cars. And from here, they then will roll out to the test track and eventually to California.
Thanks, Christoph.
Basically, what you can see back there is a car shell, not of the Caltrain project, but also a project for California, SDCTA, being lifted over and trucked.
Thanks, Christoph. Okay, as we're coming to an end, we just have a couple more questions and a couple more comments. So we'll try and get to as many as we can. And if we can't today, we'll try and get back to you. But one question is, how many trains are we getting? And is the frequency improved with these train sets? And Michelle, maybe that's a great question for you.
Sure, I can say in total, we're going to be getting 19 of these train sets. We have 16 of them as part of the federal funding that Congresswoman Spear talked about. And then we were able to get another state grant to add another 3. And so that certainly will be enough trains to operate an initial increased electrified service. Of course, we're still operating on some non-electrified territory, so we'll still have some diesel trains in the corridor, but a total of 19 trains. We'll need to have 14 to 16 of those delivered before we can begin to operate increased service, and then we'll get more trains after August 2022.
Great. Well, I'll leave with a couple comments, and then if Congresswoman Spear, you want to wrap it up for us, we'd love to hear your kind of final thoughts on it. But a few comments that were just, again, it's so nice for us to hear everyone that's just excited as we are about that. As a former manufacturing engineer, I have to say these trains are beautiful, very Swiss, and more super cool. And the last comment, great to see electric trains finally coming to fruition. And I think that's a good way to end the comments and questions we heard today. So thanks so much. And Congresswoman Spear, would you like to wrap it up for us today?
Well, Casey, this was a lot of fun and just a good news story. God knows we need good news stories right now. But it also means so much for the peninsula, for San Francisco, for San Jose, for that our whole Bay Area region, who will be able to access these trains now in a manner that is going to be so comfortable, so reliable, so quiet, so sustainable. I mean, it's just good news every way you look at it. And of course, we're taking vehicles off of the highways in the region as well. So we'll have lots of great opportunities to ride it. I can't wait for my very first ride on it. And I hope we have the luxury of celebrating by toasting a great job by Caltrain and Statler and all the great work that's been done by Michelle and her team. So bravo to all of you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stadler team.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye,
Christoph.
everybody.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
So long.
Bye.